This conference will now be recorded.
So in our previous class, we are working with rule availability, right? So likewise, PRPC has to uncheck many things in order to pick one rule for the processing. So it has to just identify whether the rule is having any circumstance version or not, and if the rule might be available in the different versions that has to identify, and that rule might be available in the different classes, in the main worker class or in the division class or anywhere. So it has to check for the classes as well, and if the same rule might be available in the different rule sets also. Okay, so it has to it has to perform that check as well, and it might be available in the different applications. So based on the rule authorization also it has to pick up. Okay, if I'm just trying to pick up one rule called customer details section, so this section might be there, sorry, this instance might be available in the different places, right? So PRPC has to pick up the best version out of it, and it has used it for the processing. Okay, so that will be taken care by PRPC by running one algorithm called rule resolution algorithm. So there will be an algorithm that is like rule resolution, so using which it will be just undergoing many things. It has to perform different things, like it has to just check for circumstance or not, circumstance or base, or it might be available in the different versions. It has to just check that also. It might be available in the different rule sets, or it might be available in the different classes or different applications. Okay, so these are all things it has to check. So apart from this, it will be again checking in one more place called cache tables. So what is cache tables? We'll discuss now. Okay, so now we'll discuss what is rule cache and what is rule resolution algorithm. So if I'm trying to request for any rule, as I told you, PRPC has to just check for the instance in all these places. Based on the rule resolution, sorry, based on the rule authorization, application will be decided. And based on this rule set hierarchy, this particular instance will be picked up. So once the particular instance, the correct matching rule has been picked up, it will not be directly moving it for the processing. Instead, it will be putting it in the cache table. Okay. If suppose I'm trying to request for customer details section, and that section rule might be there in the different applications as well in the different classes and in the different rule sets, it might be, so it will be picking up the best instance version, and once that is picked up, it will not be directly putting it for the processing. Instead, it will be putting a copy in the cache table. Okay, so what is the purpose of putting it in the cache table? For the next time, if it is if we are trying to request for the same rule, it will not be undergoing these many checks. So for the better performance, once the rule has been picked up, PRPC will be putting it immediately in the cache table, and from there only we can able to get it for the processing. Okay, so this is just like our recent step here. So if I'm trying to request for any rule like send email notification, so if I'm trying to open this, it will not be directly putting it for me for the processing. Instead, it will be putting it in the cache table, and it will be processing it here. So there will be one similar thing like cache table like recents here. So if I just click here, whatever the rule I'm trying to request, it will be putting it in the recent tab here. So from there, it will be easy for me for the next time processing. Okay, similarly, there will be one more thing like cache table, what PRPC will be internally deciding the rule should be pasting it here, and whenever I'm trying to request for the same rule, now if I'm trying to request for the send email notification, again if I'm trying to close this, and if I'm trying to request for the same thing, what it will be doing, it will be directly picking from the cache table. Okay, instead of performing all these searching. So that will be concept of rule cache. So PRPC has to undergo many things. So the rule resolution algorithm step-by-step procedure will be this one. So if I just open this, PRPC has to follow this kind of approach. Okay, if I'm trying to request for a rule from my implementation worker class, let us say, so I'm trying to request for one property name called first name. So what PRPC has to do, PRPC has to just first search for that property in that class. Then after, it has to just check for its parent class, that is division class or the organization class. Once that is completely done, it will be coming to the next rule set. Then after all the rule sets are completely done, it will be going to the last rule set till the base, I mean till the OOTB rule sets. Once that is completely done, only it will be putting a particular rule in the cache table first. Then only it will be putting out for the processing. So this is what we have discussed. If I'm trying to request for any rule, PRPC first initially has to check in the rule cache or not. Okay, if I'm trying to request for any rule, instead of performing all these, PRPC has to first check in the cache table. So if it is available in the cache table, it will be putting it for the processing. So it will be very easy for the PRPC to copy the rule from cache table to the processing. So that is what we have discussed. If the rule is not available in the cache table, it has to perform again all the searches. Once the search has been completed, it will be putting one record in the cache table, and from here it will be processing. So the same thing here we can able to say this is step number 1 and this is step number 10. So PRPC has to follow the rule processing from step number 1 to 10. We can able to see. If I'm trying to request for any rule, PRPC has to just check in the rule cache. So if it is available in the rule cache, it will be directly put it for the processing, that is like jumping to the step number 7. Okay. So after it is processing, it will be just checking whether the particular rule has been blocked or not. So if it is not blocked, then it will be going to the step number 9. Here it will be just checking whether my operator ID is correctly authorized for this rule or not. So rule authorization has to be done here. And once that is passing, it will be putting it for the processing. Okay. So these are all the steps. If at all the rule is not available in the rule cache, so what PRPC has to do? PRPC has to go to the step number 2. So in step number 1, it will be just deciding whether it has to jump to the step number 2 or step number 7. So whether the rule is available in the cache or not. If it is available in the cache, it will be jumping to 7, else it will be jumping to the step number 2. So in the step number 2, what it is doing, it will be collecting for all the rules with this name and type. If I'm trying to request for first name property or send email notification, it will be just collecting all the instances in that from the database with matching rule. Okay, so it will be collecting all the instances here. Once it is getting collected with all the instances in the step number 2, it will be moving to the step number 3. So in the step number 3, what it will be doing, it will be filtering out all the non-inheritance rules and not available rules. So the non-inheritance rules meaning this integration classes or the UI pages classes or any other classes which are not part of my inheritance as per the class what I'm from where I'm requesting. Okay, so I might be having this first name property in many places. I can able to have it created in the data class, or I can able to have it in the second application implementation 2 or implementation 3, and I may be having in my current implementation application also. So ultimately it will be putting out all the results in the step number 2, right? So first name property I will be having it from the integration class or from the data class or from the work class. All this will be putting in the step number 2. And the step number 3, so what are all the rules which are in the classes or not, which are in the classes which are not inherited to this? If I'm trying to request it from implementation class, this integration class as well as the data classes will be considered as a non-inherited classes, right? So all the non-inherited classes will be filtered out, and the rules which are not available also filtered out. Okay, so if I just getting 4 or 5 instances applicable to this rule inheritance, and if I have only one rule which is not available, okay, then it will be filtering out that not available rule also. So that check will be performed at the step number 3. So once based on these results, it will be jumping to the step number 4. So out of these results from step number 3, it will be again removing all the withdrawn rules. So as per the rule availability, we have to just check for the blocked, available, not available, and withdrawn, right? So only available rules are to be picked up. So that is the reason we are skipping out not available rules. And here we will be skipping out all the withdrawn rules. Okay, and the rules which are not in the rule set hierarchy. I might be having this particular rule in my integration rule set as well. Okay, so in my same work class, I can able to have this particular rule created in the integration rule sets or in my correct normal rule set. So I have to skip out all the I have to skip out all these rules which are not there in my rule set hierarchy. I have to skip all those. So the best results are to be moved to the next step. So here PRPC will be ranking all the rules. So what it will be ranking, suppose if I'm just getting 5 instances. So for the first name property. Okay, so if I'm getting 5 instances, it will be giving 5th rank for the rule which is there in at the base class. If I just have 5 instances, it will be giving the 5th rank for the rule which is there in the at the base class, or this is just an example. Okay, so and it will be giving the 4th rank for the rule which is there in the direct parent. So there will be class which will be considered as a direct parent, and there will be class which is considered as a pattern parent, right? So at the rate base class rule will be given as in fifth rank with the fifth rank, and direct inherited parent class will be given, the rule with that will be given with an fourth rank, and the pattern parent rule will be given with the third rank, and second rank will be given to the rule which is present in the same class, and first rank will be given to the rule which is of the highest version. Okay, so completely ranking will be done in this particular step. So out of all the rules, all these rules are valid only, which will be applicable in this inheritance and this rule set, and it will be again provide the rankings for each and everything. Okay, I might be having 4 versions in my same class only, so it will be giving first rank to the latest version and second rank to the next highest version. Okay, so this is how it will be ranking all the rules. So first at the rate base class will be given, then after direct parent will be given, then after pattern parent will be given the next rank and the same class. So if I just have the rule in the same class, that will be given with the best rank. And within the same class, if I'm just having different versions, okay, the highest version will be picked up. So once the highest version is picked up, it will not be directly moved for the processing. Why? Because the highest version may be either having circumstance or the base rule, right? So it will be checking here. So ultimately we'll be getting only one version, one rule out of this one. After all the ranking has been done in the step number 5, only one rule will be sent to the step number 6. So this one rule will be just checked whether it is having any circumstance or the base version. So based on the condition, the best instance has to be picked up. So once the circumstance or the base rule has been picked up, it will not be directly putting it for the processing. So that is what we have discussed. It will not be moved to step number 7. Instead, it will be copying the same instance in one place called rule cache. Okay, so this is just a table where it will be holding all the best instances once picked up. From the rule cache only, we have to move it for the processing. From step number 1 only, we have to move it for the step number 7. Okay, and after that, it will be just checking whether the particular rule is blocked or not. So if it is not blocked, then it will be moving to the step number 9. Here it will be again checking for the authorization. So here nowhere we are checking for the authorization, right? Here it has to just check for the authorization. So based on this authorization, it will be putting for the processing. So ultimately, this entire rule resolution will be having in two conditions, whether the rule present in the rule cache table or rule not present in the cache table. If rule is present, then it will be picked up from the cache directly. If not, it will be following all these things. Okay, so PRPC has to undergo many things. So it has to just check for all these things. It has to this is also one of the check. It has to just check for the rule available in the cache table or not, and it might be having multiple circumstance version. It might be having multiple versions or the rule sets and in the different classes, and it might be available in the different application. Okay, so this will be taken care by rule authorization. Okay, so PRPC has to run this rule algorithm, rule resolution algorithm for every time when we're trying to request for any rule. So the rule requested might be either in the search bar or direct requesting from like this also. Okay, so if I'm trying to request for this flow rule, what PRPC has to do? PRPC has to pick up the best instance. So this particular flow rule, the test rule, might be available in this class with the multiple versions, and it might be having circumstance, or the same rule might be available in the previous division classes, organization classes, and the different rule sets also. Okay, it has to pick up the latest one, I mean the best instance only. Suppose the best instance, if you're trying to make it like a not available, even then it has to perform the things, right? So that is what PRPC has to do. Okay, so this is all about rule resolution algorithm. Any doubts? So we have discussed about rule cache, rule authorization, and rule resolution algorithm, and rule availability also. So these are all the things. So this is just for your information. If you don't understand also, but it will be better if you understand. If you don't understand also, no issues. Clear? Any doubts?
Chandra, will there
Matala.
be interview questions from this rule resolution?
Mostly based on the interviewer's knowledge. If he's having much knowledge on this, he can able to ask. Most of the people might not have knowledge on this rule resolution. If they just ask you, it will be good if you answer them.
And who will be take care of that rule resolution and rule cache? Is it task comes from the admin or from the developer?
No, this is completely what PRPC is doing. So we
Okay.
will not be running this algorithm. So if I just request this rule, so I'm getting one instance, right? So from where are we getting this instance? PRPC will be running one algorithm to pick the best instance, and it will be providing it here. So we will
Okay.
not be doing anything. So this we are just trying to understand what PRPC is following. That's it. Nothing more than
Okay.
that.
Oh, okay, Chandra. And yesterday you thought rule availability, right? So in that you have changed that version with 1, 2, and also you have changed with an available, non-available, and withdrawn something with the options, right? So
Yes, yes.
will it be used while we developed any pages?
Yes, yes. Suppose if you want to block the rule, suppose we are working in the version number 1, and if you want to save as this into version number 2, what we'll be doing that, right? We'll be save as this into our latest version 2, and we have to check for the things. If at all, if you
Okay.
want to just check for the existing behavior, okay, so existing behavior will be with the version number 1, and if you're trying to create version number 2 to include your changes on top of that. If at all, if
And
you want to just check for your version, what you will be doing, so you'll be just marking the second version like not available. Okay, if we just make it like not available, automatically version number 1 will be picked up, and we can able to see it in the processing.
okay, it
Existing
is
behavior can be seen.
our reference, Chandra. And one more thing, what is the difference between like a check-in and check-out? And there also we will work with the updations, right? So suppose if you are working with the first version and if you have some existing process to be updated, then we will be change it with the version 2, right? Last previous classes we worked out, right?
Yeah, if any of the rule set is if any of the version is completely locked off, then we will not be having check-in checkout. So if you find anything rule like check-in checkout, you can able to see that that particular version is still in the development phase. Okay, so check-in checkout will be doing by the developers who are currently working on those rules. So
Okay.
I can able to work on the same rule, and you can able to also work on the same rule, meaning the rule set or sorry, the version is not completely locked. So check-in checkout is still available, meaning it will be still available for the developer to make modifications on top of this. So if I just check out, then the rule will be under my control. I have to make the modifications and I have to check in. So if I check in only, the rules will be updated with my latest changes. So the purpose of check-in checkout here is if I check out, parallel development will not be possible. So this is just to avoid loss of our changes. That's it. If any of the version is completely locked off, we'll be having something like a private edit option. You will not be having check-in checkout options there. Clear?
Yeah,
Clear, Uma?
clear, Chandra. Yeah, clear, Chandra. But when we developed for the applications with check-in and check-out, whether we will be use the rule option, rule availability option like available, not available,
Yeah, if
or the
it is still under
PRPC.
development.
Well,
Yeah, it is still under development phase. Now we can able to make this. We can able to make make changes with the rule availability also. Clear? Any doubts, still, Uma?
mm, no, actually, yeah, I have doubt. But so we are existing process we are working for the new updation, that cases we are using check-in and check-out options. Similarly, we are using the, if we want to work any OODB rules, that cases we will be worked with a rule availability option, Chandra. Or how about the whole pages will be accommodated by the rule availability?
Only that rule will be made available or not available. So for each and every rule, that option will be there. Okay. So even if it is locked or if it is still in the development phase, we will be given access with that rule availability. So if we want to make it available or not available, we can able to do that. So this is at the rule level implementation.
If I created any rule like a age as a property, That rule I want to make it as visible and non-visible. That cases I can
You
make
can do that, no?
only the only the part of the process.
No, if you want to make this available or not available, it's up to you. You can able to go to age property and you can able to just make it not available. If it is made not available, that rule will not be picked up. Okay. If there are no other instances of the age property, it will be throwing some error like age property is missing. If it is not available, meaning you are forcefully saying that age property this particular rule should not be used. Okay. Is that your doubt? Did I answer your question?
Okay, yeah, and if I have the two pages and the one property I'm using the one of the page I'm
So 2
using the
pages
age
meaning 2 section
property.
rules.
Yeah, 2 session rules. One
Uh,
session I'm using
hmm.
the I defined one data
Age
class
property.
defined as
Okay.
age. Yeah, age property,
Hmm.
and I have used one one session as a age property as available, and another session as an withdrawn. So that cases
No,
how
no.
it will works. Will
So we
is
are
it
trying to make
possible?
use of, yeah, we are trying to make use of this age property in 2 different places. But in the main rule wise, you're trying to make it like not available. So it should not be available anywhere. So ultimately, we are creating this particular age property in one data class, right? So we are trying to make use of this age property in 2 different places. Those are not considered as in 2 different properties. Okay, it will be holding 2 different values as per the page name differences, but the property level will be same. So if you're trying to make this property as not available, it will not be applicable. Got it?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So you have any questions, Tulani?
No, Chandra. Okay.
Yeah. So now we'll discuss about operator. So operator is already the thing what we're discussing from first classes only. So if I just want to create one operator, what we'll be doing? We'll be just going to the operator rule form, and we can able to make use of this by creating one save as. Or if you want to create the new operator ID, we'll be just clicking on create, go to organization, or we can able to use this. If at all, if you want to just look for the operator ID instances, we can able to go for records, organization, and if you just click on this, we'll be getting all the instances of the operator IDs. So who are all part of my organization. So if we find anything in the records category, PRPC is also PRPC has also needs to maintain the same thing in one instance class, right? So that is data admin operator. So there will be one class called data admin operator ID where it will be having all the operator IDs as the instances. So on clicking here, we'll be getting all the operator ID instances of our organization. The same details we can able to see in the records category as well. Okay. Suppose if I want to see the details, or if I just want to make use of this particular operator ID for the processing. Suppose if I just want to send a mail to the customer or mail to my manager. So I am one operator ID. Sorry, I'm one operator and my manager will be considered as a second operator. If at all, if I'm trying to request for any leave, I'm trying to make use of my organization leave portal. I'm an employee and my manager is also an employee. So I'm going to the leave portal and I'll be just submitting my leave. Okay, as soon as I submit the leave, it has to go to the manager's approval. So their routing has to happen. Okay, so this particular work object ID or the leave request ID, there will be one unique thing. So that will be automatically redirected to my manager. So manager has to approve or reject it. So once he's approving or rejecting, then I should be getting one automated email saying like your leave has been approved or rejected. So in order to do this, what PRPC is doing, PRPC has to identify my manager operator ID as well as whether on rejecting himself, sorry, whenever he's rejecting that, I should be getting one customized mail. So PRPC should be in a position to identify my operator ID as well as my manager's operator ID. If manager is rejecting it, it has to come to my operator ID only. So I have to receive the mail. My colleague should not receive that, right? So PRPC should be in a position to identify the operator ID from the clipboard. Okay, so all the operator ID details we can able to see in the clipboard under one page. So let me show that. And before that, if I just want to request any leave or any kind of thing, if it has to go to my manager approval, then PRPC has to collect it from the operator rule form only. So if I just open my operator rule form, if I go to work, there will be something called reports to. Okay, so reports to is a place where we can able to select any of the operator IDs. So all my existing operator IDs in the organization, I can able to see it here. So if I just have my manager operator ID selected here, PRPC can able to easily identify that this particular operator will be my manager. Okay. So if I just want to see the operator ID details in the clipboard, ultimately PRPC has to pick up each and everything from the clipboard only, right? My operator ID or my manager operator ID, my access group or my reporting manager, everything, all these are to be collected from the clipboard only. So if I just click on clipboard, we can able to see operator ID details in two places under systems page. So there will be one page called systems. So if I just open the systems, I can able to see the available things related to my operator ID. So if I just log off and I'm trying to log in, I'll be getting username and password page, right? So if I just enter, PRPC has to log me into this particular section, sorry, into this particular application only. So this will be taken care by the access group. Okay, PRPC has to consider my access group. So as soon as we log in, so my operator ID details are to be just compared with the access group. So based on this access group only, I should be getting this particular application and the portal loaded. Okay, so PRPC has to be PRPC has to identify my access group based on my operator ID and my my reporting manager operator ID and my mail address, everything. So these details, everything should be stored in one place in the clipboard. So if I just open the clipboard, we can able to have those pages created in two places, that is operator ID. So there will be one page called operator ID, which will be referring to the class what we are discussing here. So data admin operator ID. So if I just click here, I'll be getting all the instances of the operator IDs only. So operator ID is the OOTP page, which will be referring to the same class. So if I just click on this, I can able to see the operator ID who has logged in. Operator login details. So we can able to see all the OOTP properties which are related to this particular operator only. So if you log in your machine, so these details might be different. Okay, why? Because this is specific to my operator ID what we are seeing it here. So this is the operator ID and we are seeing the details of that operator. So in PRPC, this operator ID details will be stored in two places, that is operator ID as well as in the PX requester. So if I just open this, there will be the same page again. So the operator ID referring to the same class, the same page will be available here also. So ultimately details will be same, you need not worry. So details will be same. We can able to make use of these properties either from this page as well as this page also. So if I just see here, we will be having all the details. So the important OOTP property, that is PY user identifier. So this is the important OOTP property which will be holding my operator ID. Okay. So if at all manager is trying to is trying to reject the leave, then it will be redirecting to the operator who has created it. So it will be passing the parameter value of this one. So this will be picked up by PY user identifier. So PY user identifier will be having the value like claims@chc.com. So the operator ID will be holded in one OOTP property called PY user identifier. Increase the last. Okay, so this is the property where we can able to hold this particular operator ID. And as we are discussing about the reporting manager, so if I just give any of the reporting manager, so even those details are to be visible here, right? We can able to see one OOTP property called PY report 2. Okay, so PY report is one OOTP property where I can able to identify the manager name of this particular operator. Okay, So if I just use this property, automatically I can able to have his manager details. If at all, if I want to escalate any of the thing, so if I am a manager and if I want to escalate other operator, other employee working in my organization, if I want to escalate his work to his manager, then what I can able to do, I can able to make use of this PY report too. So there will be one OOTP property where I can able to make use of his manager operator, right? If I just want to send any mail to this particular operator manager, then I'll be just sending it, making use of this particular OOTP property. Okay, we can able to make use of this. And this access group, so even this access group should be available in one place of this particular clipboard, right? So we can able to say something like PY access group. So these are all important. There will be one OOTP property called PY access group where we can able to identify the access group. So as soon as we log in, PRP will be getting this clipboard loaded from the database. So based on this operator ID and password, PRPC has to just check in the database and it has to pull out all the values and it will be putting it in the clipboard. Based on this clipboard only, it has to identify its access group and its corresponding manager, everything, all these necessary details. Okay, so it will be identifying the access group and it will be launching the portal. And that is where we can able to see this claims application portal loaded. And as I told you, one access group might be available with different operators, as well as one operator can have multiple access groups. So if I am the manager, if I'm trying to work on 4 different implementation applications, I should be given access to all these, right? So I can able to have different applications, different access groups. So by default, what is selected by default, that will be only visible here. So PY access group is the OOTP property which will be holding only the default access group what we are selecting. And if I want to get the list of all the available access groups, so by default, if I just log in, I'll be getting this as selected and I will be getting this application. And parallelly, it has to load all the remaining access groups also, right? So that will be holded in another place called, open this. We'll be having something like PY access group additional. So if I just click on this, we'll be getting one OOTP page list. So we'll be having only one value loaded. Why? Because I have only one thing here, right? If I just have 4 or 5, we should be getting here like 5 values based on this indexing. So additional of 1, 2, 3, 4 likewise. We should be getting everything loaded like this. Okay. So here we can able to see the same details available in 2 pages. That is operator ID as well as pxrequester.operator ID. So in this page, we can able to have only the corresponding operator ID details. Here we can able to find some other details also. One operator ID has to be linked with many things. So he will be just connected to few work baskets and he will be having something HTTP response, everything. So there will be many things that will be related to one operator. And those all will be just segregated and will be put under one main page called PX requester. That's it. So just for the segregation purpose, they will be maintaining one main page that is like PX requester, and they will be having all the necessary work operator ID details, work baskets, and remaining all the things. So this will be considered as an requester details, out of which only operator details, if you want to identify, we can able to make use of this or this as well. Output will be same. Okay, understanding, right? Any clarifications needed anywhere?
Yes, Chandra, we understand.
Okay. So, and suppose if I want to just get the email ID of this, what we have to do? There will be one more place called PY addresses. So if I just open this, there will be one more page called PY address of email. So if I just click here, we can able to identify the email address of this particular operator ID. Okay. So in order to get the this particular operator ID email address, we can able to get it like this. So PY email address is the one. So if we observe something like something here, we are seeing like PY addresses of email. So we did not see this kind of behavior anywhere. So we have all the time seen like PY address of 1, 2, 3 likewise only. So here we are seeing something like an value within the brackets. So this will be considered as one page, that's for sure. So this will be considered as one page where we can able to get one single instance. Similarly, if I'm trying to have one more page like py address of home, let us say, we'll be having some more details within that. Py address of office. Okay, so everything, each and everything will be considered as in one page only, and we will be getting the necessary instances of that. So the difference between this one as well as this one, we can able to see like 1 2 3. Here we are seeing something like names. So this both are collection of pages only. So even this is considered as a group of pages, and even this is meant for having group of pages only. So like px results, what we are discussing earlier. So px results also will be having group of pages, having like an indexing 1 2 3 4. Okay, so that will be considered as a page list. Why? Because each and every page will be considered with some indexing. Okay, that will be considered as a page list, and this will be considered as a page group. So py addresses, this will be considered as a page group. So if I just copy, so it is referring to data address, right? So let me paste. So just take anything. So we can able to see this is considered as a page group. This is referring to the same class. So the difference between page group and page name here is we'll be having all the pages with the indexing number 1 2 3 in the page list, and here we'll be having everything with the names here. Okay, so this will be very easy for us for understanding. Suppose if I want to get 10 instances using page list. Okay, so if I want to get some instances from the states data table, and I'll be getting the first 10 instances having like px results of 1 for Andhra Pradesh, px results of 2 for TN, px results of 3 for JK or something. So we'll be getting each and every instance like an one page having each and everything given with some indexing. Okay, so px results of 1 will be having value number 1, px results of 2 will be having value number 2. If at all, if I'm trying to delete any of the first record from the data table, if I'm trying to go for obj browse also, then what I will be getting, I'll be getting only 9 results in this px results. Now px results of 1, px results of 2, likewise I'll be having till 9 only. Now px results of 1 will be having value number 2. Why? Because value 1 is getting deleted from the table. Okay, so earlier value 2 is given with px results of 2. Now the same value 2 is given with px results of 1. Okay, so it will be very difficult for us. We cannot able to every time assure that we'll be having the same value in the same page. Okay, so that will be very difficult for us for the processing. So if we just have the same kind of thing by creating one page group, we can able to have everything defined with the names itself. Suppose in the page group, if I'm trying to have 4 different values like py address of email, py address of home, py address of office, or py address of a permanent address or something. So we'll be getting 4 values, and here we can, by just seeing the first record, we can simply understand that first page will be related to email and second page will be related to home. Likewise, if at all, if I'm trying to get only 3 results in this page group, even then if the index is changing also, if the order is getting changed also, we will not be getting confused. Okay, if I just want to make use of this email address, then what I will be using, I will be using py address of email.py email address. That's it. If I just click here, we can able to make use of this property. If we're trying to have this like an indexing, then py email address of 1 might be related to my email address or not. It might be related to my home address or office address also. So unless I open this, I cannot able to assure anything. Okay, so output will be same. So based on indexing, it will be easy for us. Sorry, based on indexing or based on this one, we'll be getting the same kind of results. But if I just make use of this, it will be very easy for processing. We can able to easily understand this. Okay, so this is something about page group. So ultimately page group and page list, both the purpose is same only. We will be having collection of pages, and each and every page will be given with some instance values. Okay, so this is in detail discussion about the operator. You will not be getting more questions on this operator. Clear? Any doubts? So in the next classes, we'll discuss about what is work basket and what is work queue. So there are some other things to be discussed. What is work queue, and we'll be having one work queue link to this. Okay, and this will be having one more work group connected to this. We'll discuss this when we're working with routing and this work baskets. We'll discuss that. So this is all about operator. Any doubts? In the clipboard, watching this is important. So these details we might be using it somewhere. So you should be in a position to identify the operator ID. So we can able to make use of this page, or we can able to make use of this also. If at all, if we want to make use of operator. So we have to define the same in the pages and classes. This is one of the page referring to this class, right? If I want to just make use of this operator details or the email address in my one of my sections, then what I have to do, that section should be given with the pages and classes. So this should be the page name and this should be the corresponding class. Then automatically we can able to make use of all these properties within this page. Clear now? Any doubts? Okay. So now we'll discuss one more new thing called harness. I'll tell you. So any doubts, Uma Tulani? Shall I proceed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear, Chandra.
Okay. So if I'm trying to create any of the new work object ID, so what I will be getting? I'll be getting this screen all the time. So even if I'm running the flow either from this screen or sorry, in this way or the normal traditional way, if I just run this flow as well. So what I will be getting? I'll be getting this screen by default. So we will be forcefully skipping this screen by just making the change to work PY case management default, right? So if I just do that, we'll be having this particular screen skipped off. Okay, but what is the purpose of this particular screen? So without the importance, PRPC will not be putting it here. So there is much importance with this screen. So we call this as an harness. So this is one of the harness. Okay, so the purpose of this harness is if you want to make use of this, if you want to display anything before the work object ID creation, we can able to make use of this. If we just closely observe, even though I'm trying to run the flow. So this is just like running a flow, right? So even though I'm trying to run a flow, we cannot able to see any of the work object ID created here. So actually one work object ID has to be created as soon as I run the flow, but no work object ID is getting generated. If I just click on the clipboard, we can able to see only work ID prefix generation. So there will not be any work object ID, that is PYID will not be generated. Only prefix is getting generated. Okay. So the thing what we have to understand here is this particular flow rule, sorry, this particular screen will be loaded before the work object ID is getting generated. If at all user want, if you want to just collect any basic information from the user or any survey kind of thing, or if you want to make any action before the work object ID getting generated, we have to make use of this. We have to just make modifications to the existing harness, and we can able to include our sections also, just like our terms and conditions. So this will be mostly used in our online examinations where we see. So before we are starting our online examination, if we just want to display the user with some instructions like correct answer will be having this many plus marks and minus answer, sorry, negative mark will be having this much deducted. So these kind of instructions, if you want to display before the exam creation only or before the work object ID getting generated only, we can able to make use of this screen. Why? Because if we just check in the clipboard, work object ID is not getting generated, only prefix is getting generated. Okay, so if you want to skip this, what we're trying to do, we're trying to go to process tab and we will be marking this as a default. Sorry, it will be marking this as a PY case management default. So if it is marked with this PY case management default, we will be completely skipping off this. If it is made to default only, we will be having this. So based on the business requirement, we will be making this visible or we will be hiding this. So if I just click on done button, we will be getting the next screen loaded and we can able to identify the work object generation. So if I just click on done, I can able to see work object ID getting generated. Okay, and we can able to see the section what I'm trying to create. So the thing what we have to understand here is as soon as I run the flow, so this flow diagram is not getting executed. So if it is getting executed, I can able to see this section loaded as well as work object ID getting generated. But if I run this, Suppose if this is in the default. So if I run this, what we can able to see? We can able to see the first new harness because of this, and there is no work object ID getting generated. Even this is marked true, the work object ID is not getting generated. Okay, meaning this is being stopped. Sorry, this is stopping the current flow execution. So earlier we were in a discussion that flow rule is responsible for creating the work object IDs. So if I just run this flow, I can able to have the work object ID created. So this is the impression what we are under now. But to be more technical, actually flow rule is not the main rule for creating the work object ID. So the new harness what we are discussing now. So this will be considered as an main rule for the creation of work object ID. So that is what we are trying to run. See here, right? If I'm just trying to create the flow is getting executed, but there is no work object ID getting generated. Meaning flow rule is not the complete responsible rule for creating the work object ID. So the new harness, so this is part of the harness. So the new harness, what we are seeing is responsible for creating the work object ID. On clicking on done button only, we can able to see the work object ID getting generated. In interviews, they'll ask you what is the technical discussion, sorry, what is the technical way of creating the work object ID. You should not say that you will be just running the flow and we can able to get the work object ID created. So this should not be the answer. So they'll be again repeating the question saying like work object ID creation technically. Then you have to say it like new harness is responsible for creating the work object ID. Okay. If at all, if you're trying to skip this new harness by putting it like PY case management default. So that option is there, right? We can able to skip the new harness by just removing this also. Then new harness will not be visible. In that case, what PRPC will be doing? So whatever the action that is being done on clicking on this, PRPC will be doing that internally. So we'll discuss after some time what PRPC is doing on clicking on this done button. So as of now, what we have to understand here is, so we can able to see one new harness which will be visible before our flow starting only. Sorry, which will be created before our the work object ID getting created only. Okay. So as soon as I run the flow, first this work parties rule will be executed and it will be just checking whether the new harness should be skipped or not. So where are we calling this new harness? So if I just put one live UI, so these are all the sections, and here we can able to see harness called new. Okay, so this is one of the new harness. So sorry, this is one of the harness. So harness is nothing but like an user interface where we can able to see the sections included in that. Okay, so this is one of the harness that the name of the harness is new. Now if I click on done button, what I can able to see, I can able to see the new work object ID created, and I can able to see the flow shape executed and the start shape, and the assignment shape is getting executed. So that is the reason we can able to see the connector flow action loaded, and we can able to see the section also. And here we are trying to see one more screen. So let me run it from here, it will be easy for us. So what we are seeing here, so we are seeing something like a new harness. So we can able to skip this or we can able to leave this also. So if I click on done, what we can able to see, we can able to see one new work object ID created, as well as our assignment getting loaded, our flow action is reloaded, and our section is getting loaded. Okay, and if I just click on done, we can able to see some options in the right side. Apart from our section, we can able to see some OOTB buttons. So the cancel, save, submit, we are seeing some buttons here, and we are seeing something like some information in the right side and the bottom also. If I just click on submit button, we can able to see the same. We can able to see the same right side screen, bottom screen, and this OOTP buttons, and click on submit. The same thing we are seeing here also. Again submit. So in each and every place, we are trying to see something like OOTP buttons, like cancel, save, and submit, and right side screen as well as the bottom screen. For every assignment, we are trying to see it, right? So if there is no assignment provided, so if I just click on submit button, we are trying to see the next screen. Okay, so we are seeing the right side screen, we are not seeing the bottom one, and this is something like in different screen when we are when it's compared to the previous one. So this will be one of the harness what we are seeing now. Why? Because so this is one of the user interface. So this is not what we have configured. Okay, so this should be something like an OOTP. Okay, so this is considered as an one of the harness. If I'm trying to request for any flow rule again, we will be seeing one new screen here. This will be one of the harness. If I click on done, I can able to see one more harness, the right side, bottom one, and these things. Okay, so this is also one of the harness. So if I just click on submit, and in each and everything, the harness is not getting changed. I mean, the user interface is not getting changed, right side and the bottom side. Okay, so there will be one more harness applicable within the assignment. So harness is nothing but a display, user interface display, which will be applicable for multiple things. So if I just put live UI, so go to the flow action, everything, we can able to see something like an harness called perform. So earlier we have seen in the screen number 1, we have seen harness like new. Now I'm trying to see something like an perform. So if I go to the last screen, this is not completed. So if I go to the last screen, we are seeing another harness, right? So that will be different one, and there will be one more screen for each and everything. So if we go to actions, there will be something called review. So if I just click on here, we'll be getting one more screen. Okay, so this should be also part of harness. So let me put the live UI. So as of now, we are just aware of only 3 different screens. That is the first screen, which will be displaying like only done button, and the second screen what we are seeing all the assignments including in that, and the last screen whenever the assignment whenever the transaction is getting completed. Apart from this, there will be one more thing also, that is review. Okay, so I can able to see all the details in the review format. So what we should understand here now, so there will be 4 types of harness in PRPC. So that is new, perform, review, and confirm. So interest the last year. So there will be 4 types of harness, that is new, perform, review, and confirm. So new is the harness what will be useful before creation of the work object ID, and perform is the OOTP harness where we can able to see whenever the assignment is available. So if the assignment is completed, then we can able to see one more harness called confirm. Okay, and for review we'll be having one more screen called review. Okay, and out of which we can able to make modifications to the new harness as well as the perform harness. So in the perform harness, we can able to make the modifications however you want. So you can able to have 1 section, 2 section, 3 sections, it's up to you. Even in the new harness also, as I told you, this will be applicable, this will be useful whenever we want to show some sections like rules and regulations or agreements, terms and conditions also. So these two are meant for editing, where we can able to add our own customized sections, and these two are not meant for editing. So what PRPC is showing, we have to make use of this. Okay, so review harness meaning whatever the screens we are including in the perform, everything can be seen in this also in completely read-only format. We cannot able to make any modifications here. So this we will be using for the review screens. If I just have 10 sections, okay, uh, in the 10th section of clicking on submit button, if I just want to show all the details for the user just for the review, there he can able to see there we can able to see all the things in the read-only format, right? Your first name, your last name, your age, so these kind of things. So we can able to make use of this review harness in that way, just to display the things. So whatever the details we are seeing in the review or confirm, those are not meant for editing. Okay, so first two we can able to make modifications, and this will be called in the main flow rule. So as soon as I create the flow diagram, we can able to see the new harness getting loaded. So meaning this new harness has to be called somewhere in this flow, right? So we can able to see. So what is the harness that has to be called by default? So the new one, the harness type will be new. So that is the reason we can able to see one new harness loaded before the work object ID getting generated only. Okay, so once that is completely loaded only, we have to take the action either manual or automatic. So automatic meaning we'll be skipping out from here, and if it is to be manual, we have to click on done button. If at all, if you want to make modifications to the new harness, then you should be just save asing that particular harness into our version, sorry, into our rule set, and we have to add our sections there. And it should not be deleted with the done option. So if the done button is getting removed, there will be no other option for us to go to the next screen. Okay, getting my point, right? So if you want to make use of this particular screen, you can able to delete this one, or you can able to delete this also, but it should not be done. So only on clicking on done button only, this new harness will be submitted, and we can able to have this work object ID created. Okay, to be more technical, work object ID will be generated because of the new harness, and that too by clicking on done button only. Okay, so new harness is also not completely responsible for creating the work object ID. On clicking on done button, there will be some OOTB activities running. So that is responsible for creating the work object IDs. So don't just say that we'll be creating the work object ID by running the flow or by just doing like this. So this will not be considered as the answer for that. So this new harness, we will be calling it from the flow. And here we can able to see, okay, so before that what we have seen after this new harness, if I just click on done button, we can able to see one harness. So that harness is considered as a perform harness. Okay, so for this particular assignment, we can able to see perform harness. And if we just click on submit button, even if we just put the live here, we can able to see the same harness as perform only. So the harness type will be perform only. So the thing what we have to understand here, for each and every assignment, perform harness should be called. So that is what PRPC is doing. So meaning the perform harness will be called in the assignment level. So if I just double click here, we can able to see the harness name as perform. So this will be common for each and every assignment shape. So if the perform harness is being called, then only we can able to have this particular harness loaded, and we can able to have all these things right side and the bottom things getting loaded. Okay, so the perform harness is the place, is the one where we can able to see all from assignment shape. So open any of the assignment shape, we'll be having perform harness only by default. Okay, on clicking on submit button in the last flow action, last thing, we'll be getting another screen loaded. Okay, so that will be considered as a confirm screen, confirm harness. So this is what we have discussed, right? So this will be considered as a confirm harness. So now where this confirm harness is being called, even that will be called from the flow only. We can able to see if any of the assignment is not being performed, meaning if all the assignments are completed, if no assignment is there to be loaded, what harness it has to be displayed? It has to be displayed with the confirm harness. Okay, clear? If you want to make any modifications, we can able to do it for we can able to do it for new harness as well as the perform harness only. So the perform harness has to be called on the flow on the assignment sheet. So now technically what it will be doing is, if I just run the flow, first new harness has to be executed. So new harness has to be loaded. On clicking on submit button, so on clicking on done button, work object ID has to be generated and it has to execute the start shape. Okay, so here it will be responsible for creating the work object ID and we'll be loading this particular assignment. As soon as we load this assignment, it will be having one perform harness. So on loading this particular assignment, perform harness should be called, and within this perform harness, we are trying to call the connector flow action. So flow action has to be loaded and it has to load the sections. Okay, on submitting of this particular flow action, again it has to work object ID has to move to the next assignment shape, and this assignment is responsible for loading of perform harness, and within this perform harness we'll be having this local action, flow action, and flow action will be loading the sections. Likewise, each and every assignment has to load the perform harness. So if I just click on submit button, it has to just check whether assignment is available or not. If no assignment is available, as per the thing we are defining here, confirm harness has to be loaded. Okay, even if you want to make modifications, we can able to do that, but it will not be editable during runtime. Okay, clear? Any doubts as of now? So if I just click on done button, so as I told you, if I run the work object ID, this new harness will be loaded. So if I just click on done button, whatever the actions that PRPC is doing, that is important for us. So that is actually responsible for creating the work object ID. So that is what we have discussed, right? So let me take 5 more minutes. Or shall we continue tomorrow? So there are some other things to be discussed. It might not take more than 5 minutes. Let me finish it off, please. So if I just want to see what PRPC is doing on clicking on done button. So if I click on done button, PRPC is running creating an action called add work. Okay. So add work is the action what PRPC is doing on clicking on done button. So these are all the things what interviewer will be expecting. So how work object ID will be created technically or generated technically. So as soon as we run the flow, we can able to see new harness getting generated. So new harness will be having for sure done button. On clicking on done button, add work action will be taken care. So on clicking on that, PRPC has to run some OOTB activities. So based on these activities, only work object ID will be generated. So what are all the OOTB activities? So that will be our next question. So let me put the tracer and just check. So since we have it like an add work, we cannot able to see the same in the sections. We have to just trace it. So put the tracer on and make sure we have activities and those are OOTB, right? So let me select all the rule sets. I may not be knowing activities available in which rule sets. So that is the reason I am trying to select all the OOTB rule sets. So now click on done button. So we can able to see work object ID getting generated, and before that it has to run many OOTB activities. So let me trace it. So you have to just check from the bottom, right? So we can able to see immediately one activity called add. So add is one OOTB activity which is present in the work cover. So open that. So this is the main activity responsible for creating the work object ID. Okay, within this we will be having something like add work. So okay, add work is responsible for starting our flow. After we creating the work object ID, after we running this add main OOTB, it will be starting the flow. And within this we can able to have work object ID generated. Open that and we can able to see one new work object ID getting generated from here. Okay, so if we just open this, we'll be having some Java code also. So the important things what we have to discuss here is, so there will be some OOTB activities running in order to have the work object ID created technically. So that is add is the activity which will be there in the work dash cover dash, and it will be again executing something like an add work. So add work is one OOTB activity, and it will be calling one more thing like generate ID. So these three are OOTB activities, so which are responsible for creating all the work object IDs. So in interviews, they will be expecting these kind of questions. So there will be one OOTB activity called add. So on running it, it will be creating one unique work object ID as well as it will be running the main flow. Okay. So ultimately, flow is not responsible for creating the work object ID. New harness is responsible for creation of work object ID, and to be more technical, so these OOTB activities are responsible for creating the work object IDs. So clear, right? Any doubts as of now?
Yeah, Chandra.
Okay. Okay, then we'll continue to.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.